We have a very unique pleasure today, don't we?
This is super exciting.
We do not get a new console very often, and today we have a Nintendo Switch, which comes out in, at this point, about a week from now, right? On March 3rd.
March 3rd.
And we've got, like, this is the whole Switch. It's not just the box. The whole Switch is in here. We thought we'd do a traditional unboxing for you guys and also talk a bit about, like, how it feels to hold and what we think. Let's get it going.
It's kind of a small box, which is, I mean, it's a small console.
And not heavy either. Like, this is one hand. I'm not a strong guy, and I can hold this, like, without...
You're not a strong guy?
No, you can't tell. It's not super heavy. So we're going to crack this open and start it off. Nice. So you can see we've got the screen here. This is the, like, literal console. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
This is the whole Switch. It's, I mean, not heavy at all.
It's incredible. I mean, like, this feels kind of like the weight of an iPad mini almost. It's a little smaller than that screen-wise, but it's about the same consistency and heaviness.
We've also got the Joy-Con controllers, as they're called. So the Nintendo Switch, when you buy it, you can buy either the, I guess, space gray, whatever the black version controllers are,
yeah,
or this blue and red variety. This is obviously the blue and red.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did not get to pick that, sadly, but I think I like the neon. I think that looks really cool and contrasty with the black.
We've got some boring stuff. What is this? HDMI cable, big whoop.
Here's a big power brick.
This is it. Like, there's no added thing. It just goes in the wall.
Yeah.
Piece of cake.
So this is interesting. This is the Joy-Con controller. So you basically plug your Joy-Cons into this, and you can use it as a controller. It looks kind of weird as own. Like someone said, it looked like a dog head. But
yeah, it makes more sense. We'll plug in the Joy-Cons and you can see.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
You get one of these with the console as well. So if you want to just use it as a traditional controller, you can do that. That's the bulk of it. And then the last thing we've got in here is the dock.
This thing plugs into your TV with HDMI. You can see there's also 2 USB ports on the side. And let's pop that switch right into there and see how that works.
You just take the switch and you plop it in like that.
Yeah, that looks like it fits.
It's in.
Yeah, so there's a USB-C plug on the bottom of the switch. And that connects right this way. It doesn't look like you can flip it in the other way.
Yeah, we tried doing it the other way. It didn't work. Wouldn't recommend that.
Would not.
So that's pretty much all you get in the box itself.
Yeah.
No games.
No games.
Just a reminder, if you wanted like a little demo disc or something like that, you don't get any games. But I thought we'd take a minute and sort of talk about how all of these things feel just to like hold.
This is something really new, and they're like, they're very small. Like my hands are huge, but this is what it is like in my hand.
Yeah.
It's pretty small.
They're pretty small. But I was also actually surprised. So there are a lot of games where you can just use this as like a traditional controller. As a controller, it doesn't feel that bad. So you can see actually if you compare these two, the placement of the analog stick is a little different.
Yeah.
This one here, the blue one in this case, is a little more convenient from an ergonomic standpoint.
Yeah, this is the one that I prefer. I think that this is the left one.
Yeah.
And it's a little easier to like hold if you're holding it two-handed, while the other one is like right in the middle, which is
it's a little weird
strange.
That it's right in the middle, but it actually is not the worst. I've used this before and it actually didn't feel super bad. I wouldn't play a 60-hour game with it.
Yeah.
But for like a short multiplayer game, I think it's totally fine.
Totally. You and I were both at the Switch event, and the HD rumble is really nice in these.
Yeah, I was surprised. It's like a surprisingly like detailed level of rumble in these tiny little controllers. I wasn't expecting that. So I thought we'd slide these Joy-Cons on just to show people the portable mode, tablet mode, I guess you would.
Yeah, totally. Let's do some co-op.
I don't really want to do it at the same time. That seems like dangerous.
Let's just do this one at a time.
Okay, there you go. So that's one of them.
Nice little click when you do that. That's really cool.
There we go. And then
I'll hold this up for you.
Perfect.
Cool.
Done.
Nice. That's not that hard.
Yeah, pretty easy.
Okay, cool.
Heft-wise, I think it's fine. Like, we sort of felt like it didn't feel too heavy.
It doesn't feel, I mean, like, obviously, if you're used to a 3DS, this is going to be heavier, but I don't feel like it's incredible weight.
It feels like a Vita, I think, weight-wise.
Yeah, actually, that's a good comparison. The old heavy fat Vitas.
Yeah, so let's talk about how we feel about this controller layout. So here we're kind of getting a sense of how it just feels like when you're holding it in portable mode.
Right.
And I think by and large, I think it's fine. I think it feels okay. The analog sticks, in my opinion, feel better than they did on the Wii U.
Yeah.
And you've got easy access to all the buttons and stuff like that. There is one point of concern that I have, though. I don't know whether you feel like this. If you had to go between the buttons and this right analog stick here, it's pretty uncomfortable. This jump is kind of brutal.
Yeah. As I was saying before, especially if you have to access the right trigger a lot, I think that that's going to be like even worse.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, like, I tried to do it at the Nintendo event. I'm trying to do it here, and it's just like really, really tough.
So it comes to the kickstand, and this presumably you'd be popping the Joy-Cons off, but it feels.
Or you could use the grip.
Or you could use the grip.
Like this with the kickstand.
But it feels like incredibly flimsy. I thought it was going to be a thicker piece of plastic. As you can see, it's very thin and wobbly.
Yeah. Yeah, the disaster scenario is that you're like on a plane and you put it on your like tray, which I think was actually in the commercial.
It was in the commercial multiple times.
And then someone like leans back in their chair in front of you and just snaps that right off. So even though we don't love the kickstand, kind of a neat feature is that the kickstand actually protects the internal memory. You can get a micro SD card to increase the internal storage, which is only 32 gigs.
Right. So it's SD cards, XDHC.
Yes.
Or XC.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of different cards it takes.
Right. But you can essentially just slot it into this port here, which actually is hidden by the kickstand when it's down.
That's pretty cool.
Which is kind of just a neat little touch.
Yeah, I like that.
This is Zelda Breath of the Wild. I think it's smaller than a DS cartridge.
It's definitely smaller than a 3DS
which is
cartridge.
just bizarre. It's super tiny.
Because we know this game is 13.4 gigs.
Yeah, so
like that's pretty rad.
Yeah, I mean, but again, you look at storage size these days,
I know.
like an SD card can be 64 gigs.
I think we're just saying it's rad because we're old.
Yes, I think that might be it.
So yeah, the headphone jack is also on the top of the console as well, which is, I think that makes it accessible if you have it in the dock, which is kind of nice.
The only thing we haven't really tried using the kickstand, if you were using the kickstand and it was charging at the same time, there's a bit of a problem with that because this is the USB-C on the bottom
it's flush,
here.
Right, exactly.
So you may be able to like wrap a wire around the back. There's kind of like an indent there that you might be able to pop a wire into, but that might be a little bit of a problem.
This looks like a terrifying Neapolitan ice cream sandwich gone wrong.
This feels a lot better than doing it in portable mode because you've got these grips here. Portable mode, you've got a flat back, so there's really nothing to hold on to and no way to space your thumbs out. But here, this feels a lot better. I can hit the triggers. I can go from analog stick to buttons a lot easier. I think most people are going to be playing games like Zelda, bigger games using this. And I think that's totally viable. Like, I don't think this is a bad controller at all.
And aesthetically, sure, it looks weird, but it doesn't feel weird.
No,
and it's light, so that's kind
fine.
of nice.
And yeah, very, very light. This feels like a totally passable, playable option.
Right.
But not like the ideal circumstance by any means. If you're planning on playing like $200 of Zelda, using the Pro Controller is definitely what you're gonna wanna use from a comfort level standpoint. Like, no other option that comes packed in with the box is gonna be as comfortable as this Pro Controller.
Yeah.
And as a controller, it's good. Like,
it's good. It's super good.
Feels very comfortable, rests in my hand nicely. The triggers feel very responsive. They're not, what's interesting, they're not analog triggers. So L2 and R2 are just like a click control. So granted, that's certainly not great. Like, we would prefer to see the analog. But overall, other than that, I think it's a totally fine controller. Yeah. But I wouldn't necessarily make a recommendation to spend another $70 right now on top of that, just because like that's a lot to ask. If you're just getting a Switch and you just are getting what's in the box, it's actually a pretty decent deal in the sense that you're getting the grip controller, which again can work as a totally viable controller, and you're getting effectively two controllers in the Joy-Con where you can play a two-player game without having to buy an extra controller.
That's true.
Which has never really happened with a gaming console before. You always had to buy another controller. On the evening of March 2nd, we will have our full review, so you'll be able to watch for that. But in the meantime, if you've got a Switch coming, I think you will enjoy it. Yeah. I'm very excited.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of interesting stuff, like a lot of potential.
Totally.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
You found a goat head. Here's a second goat head. Put them in the goat head door. As you may know, the Nintendo Switch, we're just going to toss the box here. Oh, God, disaster.
I was trying to be gentle.